Okay, welcome to Another Dooley Noted Podcast. Appreciate everybody for clicking on and watching, or if you're listening, appreciate that as well. Of course, you can watch us on Facebook and YouTube every Monday and Friday, and you can listen to us anytime on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, WRUF.com, of course, where you can also read the back nine and the front nine. I got a back nine and a front nine. I need a 19th hole. Maybe I can work something out there. Castbox, Overcast, Podbean, any of the 39 platforms where you can watch or listen to this show. We appreciate everybody for doing that. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. We got a lot of talk about two great guests today. Looking forward to Kerwin Bell joining us in just a little bit. And then later in the show, Gary Parrish from CBS Sports, who knows college basketball about as well as anybody I know. I usually try to get him to do something like this once a year because he's so busy. And so we got plenty to talk about as we get closer to March Madness. I don't want to start on a negative note, so I'm going to start on a positive note, and that is that if you watch the show Monday, you know, we had Jimmy DuBose on, one of my all-time heroes. And one of the things that I asked him about was whether he actually got anything for being the SEC Player of the Year. And he texted me, he texted it to me. So we'll show it to you right here, the SEC Player of the Year trophy. So that's really cool. I wish I had one of those in my house. I don't think we need to ask Kerwin if he's got one, because I think he was SEC Player of the Year as well. And then I also asked him, we talked about when we sang happy birthday to him, when he was actually on the field lining up for a play, the students, I was a student back then, and he texted me the game ball that he talked about. So we got a picture of that, I think, right up there. So that was cool. I mean, it made me smile a little bit, and it certainly put me in a good mood. That mood did not last long, though, because on Wednesday night, I had to watch two things that I did not enjoy at all. Obviously, Florida losing in basketball and Florida losing in baseball. We'll go to basketball first. Look, I know how the game ended. It ended on a shot that the guy made a great play. I got to give him credit. Drew Smith driving and hitting a reverse layup to win the game. And Florida, didn't do a very good job of defending it. There's no question. Trey Mann got beat on the play. Everybody crashed, and they had three guys there to try to block the shot. He went up and under. Great play by the guy. But that's not why they lost the game. They lost the game on that play, but they didn't lose the game because of that play. They lost the game because of 15 first-half turnovers. They shot 59% for the game and still lost. It was a great comeback. When they were down 8, I go, well, this game's over. And they came back and tied the game and had a chance to win it. Obviously, didn't get the ball unless you count 0.7 seconds, which is never going to work. Disappointing loss, again, at home. This has been a weird deal about Mike White's teams. And again, I'm not going to sit here and after being so complimentary of Mike White on Monday's show, come back on Friday's show and be critical of him. They lost the game. They did a lot of bad things. You can't let a guy throw the ball off your back and get a layup, as Drew Smith did as well off Castleton's back. You can't get a technical foul. Now, I don't know what Colin Castleton said. He felt he was fouled on the play. If he turned to the guy and just said, come on, and he called the technical, then that guy's being anal. He's being a overly sensitive ref. And they had one of the most overly sensitive refs in Joe Lindsay at that game, okay? But he might have said something else that deserved a technical, so, you can't say anything about that. But you can't do that. They got the flagrant foul, which I thought was a terrible call, but, it is what it is. But there were things like that just didn't go their way. Here's another thing that happened in that game. Missouri had 3 air balls on threes and scored on each one of them. I don't know that I've ever seen that. Now, I say 3 air balls. You may say, well, that one wasn't an air ball. It nicked the rim, the front rim. That's an air ball as far as I'm concerned. It wasn't going in. It technically was not an air ball, but it was kind of an air ball. So obviously, all the things that could have gone against Florida that could go the other way did go against them, but a lot of it was their deal. They just didn't play well. And look, The good news, I guess, is that the net ranking wise, they only dropped one spot from 26 to 27. Missouri made a huge jump from 39 to 40 or 46 to 39. So because they won on the road, and that's the thing. Florida's road wins are still going to be. I mean, Florida's in the tournament, in the NCAA tournament, but what they may not have is a double bye, which everybody we've talked about is how important it is to get that double bye. You can't win. It's been done. I remember being at the tournament when Arkansas won 4 games in 4 days. Nolan Richardson said he brought 4 suits. I think that was 2000. You can do it, but it's almost impossible to win a tournament with 3, unless you're playing just 3 games in 3 days. And does that really matter? I mean, you want to get the double bye, but if they don't get it, they don't get it. They got another desperate team, which Missouri was, having lost 5 of 6. And on Sunday, when they go to Tennessee. Now, maybe they'll play at a different level because, they seem to play better after when they're on the road. I don't know. I'm not really sure why. It's a hard thing to figure out. So we'll continue talking about that. We've got a lot going on. Leonardo's at Millhopper Quick Picks. We also have the 3 things. We have Adam's Rib Company Gator of the Week. And this, that, and the other. I know you guys love this, that, and the other. So, we'll just see what happens going forward with this basketball team. We're not far from March Madness, and we certainly aren't far from Selection Sunday. All right, it's a great pleasure to be joined by one of my favorite players of all time and one of my favorite coaches of all time, the great Kerwin Bell. Kerwin, how are you today?
Doing good, Pat. It's a great day here at the lake in Valdosta, Georgia. So having a good time.
Yeah, well, I'll trade with you. Let's talk about, first of all, what you're doing now, because I know you've been kind of trying to figure out what you're going to do, waiting to try to find another coaching job. Where are you with that process?
Well, I've had some interviews and it went well. I was in on a couple finals for OC jobs. But didn't get them. So, it's tough. It's still, only about half the teams probably played this year. So as far as the turnovers with FCS and Division II, sort of, if I want to go back as a head coach or as an OC, that might be, where I have more openings and stuff. You got to remember, I hadn't really been at the FBS level, but 2 years at South Florida. And, I never grew up under a group of coaches. I sort of did it on my own. When I retired from football. And so it makes it tough. And people don't understand this profession is a lot about, people you've been under and having relationships and coaching with other people. And I just didn't do that the way my career sort of worked in that I played so long. And then I got into coaching. I went right in as a head coach, and sort of made my way as a head coach until just those 2 years at South Florida with Coach Strong. But, I really believe in what I've done. I've been proud of what we've done in the 3 programs we've taken over. I think in the first 3 or 4 years, by the 4th year, which was the Ocala Trinity Catholic high school job, believe it or not, which was a brand new school. Yeah. We were able to win a championship in the first 4 years. At JU, we won it in the 2nd year, conference championship there. And then at Valdosta State, we won the national championship in our 3rd year. So we love the way we've been able to come in and build programs, but it sort of puts you on the outside looking in as far as being on a staff with somebody. So, I want to coach. I love coaching. I'm a ball coach. I'm not into politics. I'm not into all this other stuff. I'm into coaching ball. And I just want to have an opportunity again to go not only coach ball and try to build programs and try to help with that, but also just develop young men. That's been the biggest positive for me as a coach is see young men come in as freshmen or in high school and watch them develop, all these years at Trinity Catholic and then in college, watch them guys develop. That's what it's all about to me is knowing that you maybe had a little input on them being able to develop into maybe from a knucklehead, we always call them as freshmen, into maybe a guy who's a senior who can go out and make a living, who can be a great husband, a great wife, great father. And for us to have that kind of opportunities is something I've always listen, we through with this earth. It don't matter what else we do, it's what we help and what we do to help other people. And that's been great for me. And I've got a lot out of that.
Do you regret at all taking that USF job when you had built this powerhouse at Valdosta State?
Well, I don't know if you regret it. I never look back on things. There's a lot of things I could have did different in my career. But, I probably should have looked at it a little bit closer. And, I knew there was a guy there I respected a heck of a lot out of, and Charlie Strong not only as a coach, but as a person, as a father and a husband. And I've watched him and I respected a lot of him. And it wasn't his fault what happened. We were just in a tough situation. Think about it. When I got hired, before I got on campus, we had lost the second and third string quarterback through this portal now that's going on. And so we went from, after our second game there, South Florida, from a starter to a fourth string quarterback who really should have been our fourth string guy playing for 10 games because our second and third had transferred. So that's what made it tough. But we had built something here at Valdosta. I'm living here because I built a house here on the lake, but we love it here in Valdosta in Lake Park area. But we had built a program that I'm so proud of what we were able to do. I don't know if people sometimes think Division II, it was just easy. It's the same thing. You're doing the same thing as you are at D1. That's why it never bothers me to coach at a lower level. I want to coach at the highest level. I'll do anything I could to coach at the University of Florida. Would love that opportunity, but I get as much out of coaching at this level and seeing me build because you're doing the same things. We came in here and in 3 years we built a program that was not even playing with 36 full scholarships, which is what you have at Division II. We were only playing with 27 scholarships when I got here. I realized it was sort of a tough situation with our budget. And we went from that in 3 years and built it into a program I think could have probably had a chance to win 3 national championships. And that's what's tough is you look back and say, man, we might have could have done that. Last year when I left, they went 10-0 and then got in the playoffs and lost in the first round, got upset by West Florida, who wound up winning the national championship. So, and then I got all their guys coming back, really are all seniors and juniors now this next year coming up. So would have had a really good chance to three-peat because all our kids, when we were in 2018, when we won it, and we had, I think, one of the most dynamic offenses in the nation. I think in the history of college football, if you look at our numbers, we averaged 52 points a game with a bunch of sophomores and freshmen. And that's why we had a chance then to win it, I think, for 2 or 3 years there. So that was tough. But, I love the opportunity with Coach Strong. I appreciate him giving me the opportunity. And it was just a tough situation. I went down there thinking I had more than 1 year. I knew there was, they had lost 7 or 8 straight games the year before. But I thought I'd have a chance to get in there and get some players. And I know when I can get in there and build players around the kind of guys I want, I'll produce a good offense. We just didn't have that, but that 1 year, and that made it tough.
Every time I hear a rumor that you're coming to Florida, nothing ever happens. And last year, I think COVID, as much as anything, is what got in the way of you coming maybe as a grad assistant or a what do you call a control? What do you call those control coaches or?
Well, they have senior analyst jobs now, which is you're off the field, sort of. You're not coaching. You're not part of the full-time staff. I went down there and met with Coach Mullen, had a great meeting, and met with Todd Grantham, and was going to work with him some too. And then the COVID hit, and then all sort of went haywire from there. I don't know on my end. I just know that they had froze out the hire because of COVID there in the fall. And it was disappointing. I wanted to go and, I had a year left on my contract with South Florida. So this was an opportunity for me to go back there, and I wasn't going to get paid hardly anything, but I'd go back and work for free and have a chance, with the University of Florida and be a part of that. But it didn't work out. And so, I'm just continue to try to work on what I need to work on and get better. I've lost 50 pounds, Pat.
There you go.
I've been working out every day, and I got to a point when I made that run with a national championship. That's a grueling season. Think about it. You play 11 games and then you go and play 5 playoff games. And so I was under stress, and you eat a lot. I eat under stress, and I gained a lot of weight. And then I went to South Florida and was sort of kept that same deal. I was up to 290 something pounds.
Wow. And
so now I'm down to 240 something. So I want to get back to sort of where I finished my playing weight was around 230 something. And so I'm working on that and working on my playbook, and I'm sort of rejuvenated. I feel refreshed because I've been playing or coaching ball for the last, 30 something years, 40 years. So it's been fun to sort of be and be able to refresh, and I'm ready to go now and get back in and coach somewhere. And again, help young kids become the kind of people that you want them to be.
Yeah, my problem is I eat when I'm stressed and when I'm not stressed. So
That's right.
That's a combination that's not working well for me. But let's go back many years ago. And
well, before we do that, Pat, I want to tell you, I'm sorry about the Valdosta State. I told you a little bit how we built that. We went in there in 3 years, and people don't realize we first of all, we picked out, I thought we did a great job of where we wanted to recruit at. And we went and got some really good football players. D2, a lot of times, get just transfers.
Right.
And in our conference, especially the Gulf South Conference, they call it the SEC of Division II because it's sort of in that same area, the Southeast. And so we get a lot of D1 transfers, a lot of SEC transfers in that conference. So you got to have some to compete. But I knew early on I could go get receivers. And if I trained them and they were in my system, I got a kid from Jacksonville, out of Missouri, University of Missouri, that couldn't come in and play for it. He never started. Well, he started a couple games, but I had a kid from UConn that was in the rotation at UConn, running back, that couldn't really compete on our level with the guys we had there. So I started realizing, I think that's a big thing about coaching. You got to find the landscape. You got to find out what fits. You got to find out how, and that's what I'm really good at, building that culture. And what we were able to do then, we said, hey, we don't go after a lineman, O-line and D-line at D1 level, because that's the difference really. And then we're going to recruit high school kids at the skill player. And that's what we did. That's why we had all freshmen and sophomore skill players. We won the national championship. But we had got a couple of transfers. We also, there was 5 guys. People don't realize there's 5 guys that we changed positions. One from a defensive end he wound up being a backup tackle for us on offense, started some games for us. We had a safety that wound up, he was a receiver. We moved him to safety, became an all-conference safety. We had a receiver who was 6'3", 210 pounds, 215 pounds, ran 4.4. Decided to put him as a lockdown corner. He had beautiful hips, but he wasn't real aggressive toward the ball, catching the ball. So we said, let's try him at corner because he wasn't going to be in our rotation. We had so many great receivers. We moved him over to corner. He's now with the Chicago Bears, was drafted in the 7th round as a DB. 1 year played DB, but just a fabulous athlete. Same thing, we had a defensive end that was a basketball player. And because of my connections down in Florida, a guy, he played junior college down there, never had played. He's from Nigeria, never played football. Bring him over, and he's 6'5", 275 pounds, can bend. Some of our coaches say he looks like an SEC player. So we took him. I knew he was a hard worker. And that was his 3rd year of we developed him when we won the national championship in 2018. And he's now with the Indianapolis Colts.
Wow.
Just unbelievable. 3% body fat, 6'5", 270. So we did a lot of things, I think, that helped us build that thing into what we did. And so I know how to build programs. I'm proud of what we were able to do. I think if people seen the kind of team we had there, you'd say, man, we could go beat a lot of D1 programs in. We were that good up front. We were so athletic. We had a left tackle, was another one of the 5. He was a tight end when I got here as a redshirt freshman that they had recruited. He was 6'5" already, about 245, but he couldn't run. Arms hang down to his ankles. I told him, I said, listen, if you want to play at the next level, do what I ask you to do, change positions. He changed the left tackle. He finished his career as an all-conference player, probably 3 years. He was 6'5", 6'6", 315 pounds. He's getting a chance in the NFL. So we knew what it takes to build, and it was great to do that. And I had a great time doing that. That's what I would love to do, is build programs and be a part of that. And so I'm proud of what we were able to do, and people don't realize what all we did, the decisions we made that helped us build that thing into a powerhouse. You got to think, we averaged 52 points a game, and we only gave up 20 points a game on defense. I think there was only one game we didn't score 44 points in, Pat, and that was one of the playoff games we only scored 30. That was a close one. But the rest of the time, we scored over 44 points in every game that we played and gave up only 20 points a game. So we were a dominant football team, and I'd love to have an opportunity to do something like that again.
Yeah, absolutely. You should be proud of that. And I was a huge fan, as you know. I was calling all the time of that team. But yeah, I did. We only have about 5 minutes left here. I wanted to talk a little bit about when you came to Florida, and obviously everybody knows the story. You're 7th on the depth chart or whatever, and all of a sudden everybody gets hurt, and you start that first game against Miami down in Tampa. But just the whirlwind that kind of went around you that freshman year.
It was something, Pat. You know, I got here and I was the 8th string quarterback. People said, "How do you remember that?" It's because it's very dramatic when you walk in a locker room and there's 8 quarterbacks and you're at the bottom, man. That stays with you for the rest of your life. But I got beat. You know, they had Wilbur Marshall on defense that first year, and I was redshirted. And I remember they'd hit you late on Tuesdays when we had full pads getting ready for the game. You know, they didn't care if they hurt me or not. I wasn't able to see the field. So, got beat up a lot. Man, I was ready to go home a lot, but I hung in there and wound up getting to move up to 5th string. I remember in January, and people said, "How'd that happen?" Well, 3 guys graduated. So one of them was Wayne Peace. So that moved me up to 5th string and went into spring and had a decent spring. And then the spring game, Coach Hall said, "Kerwin, you probably only will get 1 series. So give me the best 1 series you can give me. I don't know if I can play maybe more than 1 series." And God Almighty, somehow in 1 series, we went 80 yards and I threw a touchdown pass in that 1 series, an orange and blue game. And so Coach Pell sort of entered me as a dark horse candidate, and wound up coming back that fall. And I was still sort of, don't be the 5th string guy. There was 4 guys ahead of me, scholarship players. But Dale Dorminey didn't make it in class. So Dale didn't come back. And that moved me into the top 4. And then I had an opportunity to go compete for it with the other 3 guys. And I'll never forget, on a Monday before we was playing Miami, Coach Pell called us all in. He said, "Kerwin, you've graded out 2nd highest." He goes, "You'll be my backup." He goes, I don't have a scholarship for you right now, but we'll get you one in January. We think you got a good future here. And Donnie Whiting was the one that got kicked, that didn't make it back. Dale Dorminey came back. He was a 5th-year senior. Right. Dale became the starter, and Dale
he got hurt in a scrimmage, didn't he?
That was on Monday. Yeah. Tuesday, we're finishing up practice. We're in shoulder pads, shorts. 5 minutes to go in practice. We're doing a goal line situation. He's with the first group. I'm with the second group. He's running the end zone. A fullback trips and falls into his knee. He lays there for a little while. They take him off the field. I remember stepping into the number 1 huddle and Ricky Nattil saying, "Country," which he's country too. I don't know why he wants that. Like he's from Archer, but he said, "Country, you're going to have to grow up in a hurry." And we laughed a little bit and we was worried about Dale, and he'd walked off the field, so we didn't know if it was that serious. But I get to dining hall that night, and I'm starving, they're dining hall, and we're about to eat, and Coach Hall comes up to me and says, "Kerwin, Dale just got his MRI test back. He tore his ACL. He goes, you're going to start in 4 days against the defending national champion Miami Hurricanes on Saturday night." I was scared to death. I mean, I couldn't eat. I put my plate of food to somebody else. I was scared to death. But man, we had a lot of good players around that team. 1984, we were surrounded by some really good football players. And that was a whirlwind, to go 1-1-1 and then win 8 or 9 in a row. And we were dominant through that run there in 1984. Absolutely. It was a great opportunity for me. And I took advantage of it, but I was also had a lot of people support me. That's what made it great.
All right. Last question for you. We only got 1 minute. Okay. I know there's a trophy somewhere over in that campus, and I've been looking for it my whole life. You have any idea where it could be? I know it's hidden away somewhere in a room.
Well, I don't know, but I know I remember when we got the trophy. I remember it being here on campus, being on the University of Florida campus. I remember seeing it. We got our rings. I still have my SEC championship ring because all that happened before they took it away. So, the one thing too, back about that SEC championship, Pat, was you was there, man. We flew back at University of Kentucky. We won up there, barely won, man. It was a close game. But I remember flying back in. The pilot took us over to the stadium, and there was already thousands of Gator fans waiting for us. And then to land at the airport and to drive up through the sort of the motorcade with thousands of people on each side of the street. That's what I tell our kids all the time when we're playing is that this is not about individuals, man. If you hear play this game about being as an individual, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. It's about winning championships. That's what I base my whole program about, because if I can bring a championship to a young man, that thing's going to last for him for the rest of his life. Sure. Just like Absolutely. For me, I can always tell when I finally get some grandkids, I can tell them, even my grandkids about that day of riding and coming back and being SEC champions for the first time in Florida history. So that's something that we always try to do, is understand the championships is something that'll last a lifetime.
Kerwin, it's a great pleasure. I wish we could talk to you longer, but it's great talking to you. Maybe we'll get you on again and talk about some of those individual games. And I thank you so much for coming on the Dooley Noted podcast. Thank you.
Yeah, Pat, man, I appreciate you. You've been there with me most of my career, so I appreciate all your support, and you've done a great job throughout that time. And it's funny how old we get, man. We're getting up there, My kids, all my 3 kids are gone. They're in college or out of college. My son's now office coordinator at Tusculum up in Division II with Jerry Odom. Cade is my oldest son. My middle son's a lawyer, and then my little girl's up in Boston playing volleyball. So she's in college. So we're getting older, but man, I appreciate everything you've done. We love the Gator Nation, and I love building young men up. And so I'm going to get that opportunity again, and I'm going to look forward to it, and it's going to be fun. Like I said earlier, I'm a ball coach. I love to coach ball. Yep. I love to teach young men about what it takes to become great. And I've had that opportunity to be in that position before, and hopefully that'll happen again.
All right. We appreciate it, Kerwin. Thanks so much, man, for joining us. We'll talk to you again soon. We'll take a break. We'll come right back with Gary Parrish from CBS Sports. We'll talk a little college basketball with him. He's as good as it gets on Another Dooley Noted Podcast. This is Pat Dooley, and I want to tell you about my friends at the Gainesville Quarterback Club. I'm a member, and you should be too. It's the oldest Gator booster club in the world, and a great place to meet new friends, network with prominent business people, and hear a great collection of speakers, including Dan Mullen, throughout the football season. Go ahead and give John Stevens a call at 352-222-8516 or sign up on the website, quarterbackclub.org.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Thanks so much to our title sponsors, ABC Fine Wine and Spirits and Titan MRI, and to our pick sponsor, Leonardo's of Millhopper. You can find us live on Facebook and YouTube, or listen at your leisure on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or wherever you find all your favorite podcasts. I'm excited to continue this podcast and to have your company on board as a sponsor. If you're interested in being part of the show, email me at patrickdooley54@gmail.com or give me a call, 352-317-3444. You can get your favorite alcoholic brands from ABC Fine Wine and Spirits delivered right to your door. ABC Delivers is available in Tampa, Orlando, Jacksonville, and all of the Southeast Florida. Earn ABC points for coupons and free bottles through abcdelivers.com. It's powered by FedEx Same Day City, and you're going to love the price. Free with a $50 purchase for the first 7 miles. So wine, spirits, beer, and everything you need to celebrate. Get it delivered. Shop abcdelivers.com. All right, welcome back to Another Dooley Noted Podcast. We appreciate everybody for clicking on. We'll get to all of our things, as you guys know that we do. But right now, it's a real honor to bring on Gary Parrish, CBS Sports. Does an unbelievable job with basketball. You see him on TV, you read his stuff. He is as good as it gets when it comes to talking college basketball. And I don't know, Gary, are you getting that feeling in the pit of your stomach? Selection Sunday's right around the corner?
It really is right around the corner. It's obviously been an unusual season, and the end has sort of snuck up on me a little bit because, it's been unusual for the players and coaches and fans, but also for me personally, because I typically travel nonstop throughout the season, back and forth to New York, being in studio. This season, I've been doing all of my television work from home, like so many others. And so I haven't been to a basketball game all season. I have not been on a plane all season. I haven't, the last time I was on a plane was I was at the CAA tournament for the championship game, CBS Sports Network doing sideline. It was on a Tuesday night. Woke up the next morning, coughing, sick, flew home. That was on a Wednesday. Supposed to go back to New York on Friday. Rudy Gobert tested positive Wednesday night. NBA shut down. Thursday comes. NCAA tournament shuts down. And that's it. And so I'm looking forward. I think I'm going back to New York next week I'll be there for the NCAA tournament, and then I believe Indianapolis for the Final Four. But it has been a wild, wild season, and it's just awesome that as we approach the end, it looks like we're going to cross the finish line. I never, you don't speak in absolutes about this type of stuff, but we're pretty close, and it looks like we're going to be able to crown a champion, which was in some doubt at some points in the offseason.
Yeah, my last plane ride was flying home from Nashville after the one game that I saw. And then, obviously Rudy Gobert, like you said, and then the SEC shut down the next day. And so I got on a plane. I was scared getting on that plane, wondering if what I was dealing with. And that's the last plane ride. I've only been to one basketball game this year. And it's been kind of weird, but boy, I've watched a lot of basketball and I've seen a lot of really good teams. And certainly the teams at the top seem to be, have kind of separated themselves. I don't know if Baylor's fallen back a little bit, but obviously they got another big win. So it's kind of a weird dynamic in that we're all sitting here waiting to see if it's Gonzaga. Nobody's going to fill out brackets that don't have Gonzaga, Michigan, Baylor, up near the top.
There's no question. I mean, those teams have I know Michigan just took a wild loss on its home court, but that team is still great. I know Baylor, after the COVID pause, didn't look great, but Scott Drew, after they were on a 21-day layoff, and they come back, play Iowa State. Iowa State's terrible. They struggled. Like, they were lucky to win the game. If they'd have been playing a decent opponent that night, they would have lost that game. Then they go to Allen Fieldhouse over the weekend, lose by double digits there. But Scott Drew had initially said he had talked to every coach he could talk to who had been on similar layoffs, just like, hey, what are you doing when you can't practice? How long did it take you to get your legs back? How long did it take you to get right? And he said, almost to a person, the coaches told him, it's going to take you 2 or 3 games. You will get right again. You'll look like yourself again, but it's going to take 2 or 3 games. And for Baylor, it looks like it took 3 games, because in the third game back against West Virginia on the road, they looked like Baylor. They shot like Baylor. They look like a team that can compete for the national title. But undeniably, heading into this thing, the favorite is Gonzaga. The Zags have been excellent from start to this moment. I think they've gotten a little bored in the WCC. I think if Mark Few were being honest with you, he'd tell you the same thing. Again, to circle back to the unusual nature of this season, Gonzaga, they play Virginia early, Kansas early, Iowa early, West Virginia early. They undeniably look like the best team in the country. They're elite offensively, elite defensively. They got 2 lottery picks. They got a future Hall of Fame coach. They got experience. They got depth. They check every box. I mean, Pat, you were around those Florida back-to-back teams that I look back on them, and they checked every box. They had a point guard who could score. They had a shooter off the ball. They had multiple bigs. I don't know if that team is constructed. They had a wing who was a 3-and-D. I don't know if that team constructed that way would be perfect for modern basketball in 2021, but it was perfect for that time. I look at Gonzaga, and it's a perfectly constructed basketball team. And so they've been in the WCC now for, a couple of months. They're winning their games by an average of 24 points per game. Under normal circumstances, every time they played a home game, even if they were 25-point favorites, they'd have that crowd to motivate them. And on the road, they'd be playing in front of packed gyms, and they would have that to motivate them. Now it's like you're on the road against Pacific, you're a 30-point favorite in an empty gym. Like, you just get bored. Yeah. And so I think you'll see them snap back to themselves in the WCC tournament. And then in the NCAA tournament, they'll be ready to go. Sportsline, which falls under the CBS Sports umbrella, every time Jerry Palm updates his bracket, they simulate the bracket 10,000 times. And for about a month now, Gonzaga has been winning the NCAA tournament in those simulations about 31% of the time, which is a pretty big number relative to other seasons. So, it's a single elimination tournament. You never know what's going to happen, but the Zags are the favorite and I think have a great chance to be the first undefeated national champion since Indiana in 1976.
Yeah, I want to get your thoughts locally here on Florida. Obviously, last night was a bad loss. I mean, Missouri's a good team. They've been struggling, and they turned it over 15 times in the first half after beating Kentucky. So a lot of people are, on that roller coaster. But I do admire the job Mike White has done. I mean, nobody's had to deal with what he had to deal with Keontae Johnson, and then to have another pause. They're in the tournament. They're going to, I don't think they're going to make a ton of noise, but I still think he's done a remarkable job considering what he had to go through.
There's no question. I mean, he didn't just lose a player in a, terrifying way. He lost the SEC Player of the Year. I think it's from a human perspective, we've tried to talk very little about Keontae Johnson as a basketball player and just talk about him as a young man, as a college student who we all watched collapse in a way that was terrifying. And, in those first few days, I mean, I don't know what you were hearing, but there wasn't anything I was hearing that was good. And no. I was thrilled and surprised when, they were like, he's awake, he's moving, he's talking, he's getting out of the hospital. Again, that is not, and I never reported any of this because I felt it was reckless and perhaps out of line. But I'm just telling you that stuff I was hearing was not good. And so, we sort of take basketball and set it aside. But if you bring basketball back into the equation, Florida lost one of the best players in the country and stayed good. I mean, is Florida great? No, I don't think Florida's great. I don't even think Mike would tell you that Florida's great. But it's a good basketball team, rock solid. like top 40 in offensive efficiency, top 40 in defensive efficiency. Depending on your favorite bracketologist, they're anywhere from a 5 or 6 seed to a 7 or 8 seed. I would probably, if I was looking at it this morning, I'd probably have them in that, 7 or 8 seed range as opposed to 5 or 6 seed range. But, 5 and 3 in quadrant 1, 3 and 3 in quadrant 2. They're 8 and 6 in the first 2 quadrants. They got that one Q3 loss to South Carolina that dings the resume a little bit. But still, to your point, as we head into the last weekend of the regular season, they've got nothing to do, nothing to worry about. We didn't have a tournament last season, but if we did, Florida would have been in it. And so that means that if we would have had a tournament last season, Mike would about to be making his 5th NCAA tournament in a row. That right. is that is not to be taken for granted. I live in a city where the basketball program used to win 30 games a season and was a 1 or a 2 seed every year. That went to the Elite 8 4 straight years. I'm talking about Memphis, obviously. That program hasn't been in the NCAA tournament since 2014. This is what I always tell people. Don't ever take making the tournament consistently for granted, because you look around the country right now, Kentucky's not going to do it. Duke probably won't do it. North Carolina might not do it. Indiana might not do it. Mike's about to do it for what would be the 5th straight year. That is an accomplishment that is not to be taken for granted.
Let me ask you this, because we have seen in sports since the COVID situation has come about, and obviously it's a miracle what we've been able to get done and see all these games. But we have seen the cream rise to the top every time. It's been the Lakers. It's been the Dodgers. It's been Brady. It's been Alabama football. I mean, and that makes me wonder if we're going to have a typical March. And again, we're talking about a March Madness in in Indianapolis. It's all there. The crowds are going to be limited. I don't know if we're going to have the madness. That's one thing I wonder about, whether we're going to see, 12 beat 5 and all these things are in the first round.
It's interesting. I hadn't quite put all that together the way you had. But when you look back on the past year, champions that have been crowned in the pandemic, it is sort of like the as you put it, the cream is rise to the top. The best teams have typically won. And even if it weren't the best team, it's like Tom Brady. So that represents excellence.
Which is the best guy.
Which is the best guy, right? So, I do think that the pandemic has impacted this season, not just in the way that we've had stops and starts and cancellations and postponements. It's actually had an impact on the outcomes of games and the shaping of the sport, because Duke has lost more at home this season than it has in any season in recent memory. Kansas lost by 25 points inside Allen Fieldhouse, worst loss at home of Bill Self's Kansas career. Michigan just loses by 20 plus points at home to an Illinois team missing its best player. We've had a lot of those types of things, and I can't prove this, but what I can tell you, I believe, is that these things don't happen if those home court advantages actually exist. Like I refuse to believe it's a coincidence that Bill Self took his worst loss ever as a Kansas coach in the 1 year where you can't have 16,300 people inside Allen Fieldhouse. So I say all that to say this. You've been to the NCAA tournament a bazillion times. You know what it's like when you've got a 12 seed with a 2-point lead over a 5 seed in 8 minutes to go. The building lights up for that 12 seed, and it becomes, in those final 7 or 8 minutes, a real, genuine home court advantage for the underdog, because people want to see Murray State upset Marquette or whatever. And we're just not going to have that. It's going to, there's no scenario where you can get 18,000 people behind you. You can get 3,000 people behind you or 1,800 people behind you. And so I do wonder, like the game will be played on the court more strictly than it otherwise is. There's not outside influences to a normal degree, and that could possibly lend itself to where more often than usual the better team just wins and advances, and we don't get March Madness in any sort of traditional way.
Yeah, Kentucky's had its first losing season ever in Rupp, ever.
Right.
In the history of Rupp Arena, they're having their first losing season. But to go back to what you were talking about, I've never heard as many people cheering for Norfolk State as I did when they beat Missouri in Omaha that year. That place was going nuts over Norfolk State. They couldn't name one player on the team, but they were losing their minds. But
that's exactly right. And that is what we will be missing. Like whatever Norfolk State is in this tournament and whatever Missouri is in this tournament, that I think that was a 15-2 game. We're going to have four 15-2 games. And if the 15 seed happens to be competitive or have a lead, there's no scenario where the entire building gets behind them, because the entire building is mostly empty.
Yeah, absolutely. Gary, it's always great talking to you, man. I know you're busy, and it's great to have you on. Good luck with the rest of it, and stay healthy, my friend.
I'm going to do my best. Pat, it's always good to talk to you. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, Gary Parrish, CBS Sports. Great pleasure to have him on. We will get to our things, the things we do. We want to get these two guests going, but we will take a break, and then we'll come back, and guess what we'll have? Leonardo's Millhopper Quick Picks, Adams Rib Company, Gator of the Week. 3 things sponsored by the Gainesville Quarterback Club, and this, that, and the other. It is going to be a jam-packed finish to this show here on Another Dooley Noted Podcast. You can get your favorite alcoholic brands from ABC Fine Wine and Spirits delivered right to your door. ABC Delivers is available in Tampa, Orlando, Jacksonville, and all of the Southeast Florida. Earn ABC points for coupons and free bottles through abcdelivers.com. It's powered by FedEx Same Day City, and you're going to love the price. Free with a $50 purchase for the first 7 miles. So wine, spirits, beer, and everything you need to celebrate. Get it delivered. Shop abcdelivers.com.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
All right, welcome back to Another Dooley Noted Podcast. Again, if you guys want to get involved in the show, I know we got a lot of fans out there. I keep hearing from you, and we'd love to get a couple more sponsors. Just a couple more is all we really need, although we do appreciate certainly our great title sponsors, ABC Fine Wine and Spirits and Titan MRI. They do such a great job. We love those guys, and also we love sponsors of some of our segments, and we'll start with the Leonardo's Quick Picks. Leonardo's at Millhopper Quick Picks. And I got to tell you guys, you totally whiffed on this one because almost everybody picked Florida to beat Missouri. Now, I would have picked Florida to beat Missouri too. Florida was a 3.5-point favorite, and Florida should have beaten Missouri if they didn't do all those bad things that they did. But they didn't. And because I said you have to get them all right, which was only 2, we've streamlined this a little bit. Nobody qualified. The one guy who, I think there were 2 guys who picked Missouri, they were wrong on Trey Mann, who did go over 15 points. So nobody qualified this week, or this on Monday. What day is today? Today's Friday. That was Monday. Okay. But today, hopefully we get some qualifiers. You've got to get them both right to qualify. And it's going to be a tough one this week. All right. So here we go. The Leonardo's at Millhopper Quick Picks. The first one's easy, but it's not easy. Florida at Tennessee. Who you got? Sunday. I mean, it's going to be it's an important game for Florida to get the double bye, to improve their seeding. If they could win at Tennessee, that's a quad 1 win. It's a big game for the Gators, and we'll see if maybe they play better again on the road than they do at home sometimes, which is hard to explain. Now, look, this year it's not hard to explain because you don't have that great crowd. But it's kind of been the way it's gone with Mike White's been almost a better road coach. I mean, I know the numbers don't tell you that, but because you're going to lose more on the road than you are at home unless you're an Uber team, you know. But certainly they've seemed to play better games on the road. Of course, their best win right now as we go into the tournament is West Virginia at West Virginia. I think winning in Rupp, I don't care what the situation is. I don't care how bad that team is. Lost again Tuesday night. Oh my, I enjoyed that one again. All right, so Florida at Tennessee is number 1. And the other one, softball's got 2 games this weekend against Florida State. How do they do? 2-0, 1-1, 0-2. You pick. I'll give you a little background. Florida, as you know, is 13-0. Just won again Wednesday night over New Mexico State. They are number 5 in the country. FSU is 10-3. They got to a little bit of a rocky start, but they are number 16 in the country. So this is going to be 2 great games. It's going to be fascinating to see how they go. So those are your 2 things. If you get them both right, you qualify. We've got a couple of qualifiers from previous things. Florida at Tennessee, and then softball. Can they go 2-0, 1-1, 0-2? You pick. And we'll put those up on Facebook, of course, and on Twitter. I'll get those up later today, maybe tomorrow. I got a lot of stuff going on. So that's great. All right, that is our Leonardo's at Millhopper Quick Picks. And again, thanks to Kyle for everything he does. You got a chance to win $50 there, and man, I wish I had $50 to just spend there. I'd probably look about the same as I do now. I don't want Kerwin going there, though, with that weight loss he's had. He will have a problem. You spend $50 at Leonardo's. All right. Let's do 3 things real quickly, okay? Because that is sponsored by the Gainesville Quarterback Club this week, but we still are looking for a permanent sponsor for 3 things. I love 3 things, okay? Just to help me out. Not to help me out financially, but to help me out because it means something to me. Here are our 3 things. Number 1, don't worry about officials, okay? I just talked about officials a little while ago, and you probably say, well, Dooley, you're allowed to yell about the officials. Well, I'm saying as fans, it's okay to be mad at the officials, to yell at them during the game, to scream and think they're idiots. And it's okay right after the game. But a couple days later, let it go. They're always going to make mistakes. They're always going to be mediocre. This conference, I don't think is very good personally. But in the end, you win or lose the games based on how you play the game. I just saw where Donovan Mitchell ripped the officials for stealing a game from him in the NBA. You probably didn't. They probably didn't steal the game from you. No officials are out to get you, okay? Kentucky fans, they're not out to get you. I promise you that. Alabama football fans, they're not out to get you. Referees are going to make mistakes. They're human beings. Just like your guy drops a pass, or your guy misses a dunk, or your guy lets somebody throw the ball off his back and get a layup. They're going to make mistakes like players do. And I know that they're trained professionals and they get paid for it, but they're going to still make mistakes. And it's okay to be mad at them. Just don't linger. Don't let it linger, because it's just going to hurt you and your stress level, okay? And then you'll start eating like Kerwin did when he was with Valdosta State. I probably shouldn't make any more Kerwin Bell was fat jokes, should I? Yeah, he'll get mad at me. Oh, boy, he's already probably going to be mad. All right, number 2. 9 Florida players were invited to the combine, even though there's no combine, which is really interesting. Basically, you're going to have a combine here in Gainesville. And the fact that 9 people were invited, I mean, usually what you have is a pro day where anybody can come out. Guys who come out who weren't even on the team. Guys who come out who maybe played at Florida and then transfer somewhere, but they want to work out here. But now this is kind of more of an official, here's who is invited. Florida had 9 players, so good for them. Tells you a little bit about how talented this Florida team was. The most was Ohio State with 14. Not real shocking there. Second most was Georgia with 12. And then the third most tied was Notre Dame and Alabama with 11. Alabama had 11, Florida had 9. I mean, so it tells you a little bit about how talented this Florida team was. You had the 5th most people invited to the combine. And that's how good this team was. I mean, they were a mediocre defense away from being in the playoffs, as we know. And you can read about that on the Gators Wire. That's the next book of list I'm doing. Well, I think it goes up Sunday. The 10 reasons Florida will be better on defense in 2021. So I'm plugging myself on my own show. I'm allowed to do that. All right, and number 3, we saw where Kentucky was trying to schedule a game, and then they lost to Florida, and the thought was, well, there's no point anymore. There's no point in trying to schedule an extra game. Turns out they were trying to get Gonzaga to be that game. And the Calipari's to the players were all excited about it. I'm like, yeah, they were excited about it until they started playing it, and then they're going to get their butts kicked because Gonzaga is really good, and Kentucky is not. Kentucky couldn't even beat Mississippi the other night. We saw the Florida game. I mean, they are bad. Worst. The first team in the history of the school to have a losing record at Rupp Arena. Now, again, some of that's not having fans out there. But you don't want any part of Gonzaga. You're better off not playing them, okay? It would have been a crapshoot if you had a miracle and somehow, guys tested positive so they couldn't play. And where would the game have been played? Would you really have wanted to get on a plane and go to Spokane? Do you think they who are really trying to make sure that they get to the tournament? That is only goal for Gonzaga right now. Get to the NCAA tournament healthy, get into the bubble so you can win the national championship. I think that's the number one reason probably why they didn't want any part of playing an extra game. So those are the 3 things sponsored by the Gainesville Quarterback Club. All right. We're piling all these things at the end because we had long interviews, and they were great interviews, and I hope you guys enjoyed them. And by the way, don't forget, Monday, Greg Sankey, the commissioner of the league, will join us. We'll have another guest. I need to get to work on that when I get done today. But I'm looking forward to talking to the commissioner on Monday. It is time now for the Adams Ribco Gator of the Week. And I thought I would have somebody last night that I could pick. Baseball-wise, right? And all of a sudden they couldn't hit. I don't know what happened. Those guys had some funky motions, man, the pitchers for Florida Atlantic. But give them credit. They won the game. Look, the last pitch to Jacob Young, was it a ball? Yeah, probably, but they called it a strike. Can't complain. Can't let it linger. Remember, don't let it linger. But the Adams Rib Company Gator of the Week is Elizabeth Hightower, who got the win on Wednesday night against New Mexico State. She is now 6-0. It's nothing to, nothing to diminished just because they've played not the hardest schedule. Usually Florida plays one of the hardest softball schedules in the country. But this year, not so much because of COVID, obviously, and all the things they're dealing with. But still, she's 6-0. See how she does this weekend. I hope she does great because they're playing FSU. You know how that goes. So the Adams Ribco Gator of the Week is Elizabeth Hightower. It'd be great because, you know, we were talking about how Jimmy Dew had that trophy, and that's you saw it if you watched the beginning of the show. And back in the when you had the Jacobs Trophy, there was no trophy. And you wouldn't even get a piece of paper. Maybe we should get a piece of paper or something to give to the Gator of the Week every week and the Gator of the Weekend, which we'll have again on Monday. You know, just a parchment. We'll work on that. All right. Finally, it is time for This, That, and the Other, my favorite segment on the show, presented by Ballyhoo Grill. Maybe heading there when I get done today. And Dar Shakow Insurance. We love our sponsors, and we appreciate everything they do for us. All right, This, That, and the Other is personal a little bit. You saw me on Monday. How happy was I on Monday? I was in such a great mood after Florida beat Kentucky. I said I could talk about it forever. It was a great feeling. Made me so happy. That was the this. That was Florida committed 15 turnovers in the first half and got down by 7. So right away, the mood goes down, but you're going, you can still come back. The other is they lost on a last-second shot. This was good. That was not. The other was terrible. I couldn't watch basketball the rest of the night. There was a bunch of games on. I had no interest. I watched Goodfellas for the 48th time. That's how that team brought me down that much. But they brought me up the other day. Now, they go beat Tennessee on Sunday, they bring me back up. Then they go to the SEC tournament, up, down, up, down, up, down. Must be good to be a Gonzaga fan. I do have a Gonzaga t-shirt. In fact, I was trying to remember why I have a Gonzaga t-shirt. It's because they knocked Kentucky out one year. All right, that is going to do it for Another Dooley Noted Podcast. We appreciate all of you for watching or listening. And we'll be back again, as I said, Monday with Commissioner of the SEC, Greg Sankey. We appreciate everybody for being a part of this show, all of our great sponsors. We appreciate them so much. Until next time, thanks to Evan. We appreciate all the hard work he does to make everything work here. We'll be right back on Monday. Not too far. You don't have to wait too long. And we'll have more things to talk about on Another Dooley Noted Podcast. I am Pat Dooley. I am deep. I'm way back, and I am out of here.